Welcome to One World Countless Story podcast with me, Selena Novello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of One World Countless Story podcast. I am so excited that you are here. This episode, I'm interviewing Jason, and he is such an inspiring man and such a light. I have loved to get to know him better over the last 4 to 5 years. I think we've known each other for. I met him when I first went to youth group with one of my friends, Brooke, and ever since, he has been such a great leader and mentor. Once I graduated from high school, I actually decided to become a youth leader, so I get to work on his team and just get to learn and grow with him. He is so amazing and has shared a lot of his challenges and struggles. He's talked about how he is dealing or dealt with person pleasing. He talks about self-care. He talked about the impacts of the COVID on a extrovert and all the different things that he has experienced in life. He gave us his best advice. So make sure you grab a pencil and paper to jot down some of these notes because they are absolutely amazing. And I feel like a lot of people right now can connect with some of the things that he was speaking about. So I'm going to hand it over to Jason. Let's get right into it.
So as Selena said, my name's Jason Dimnik, and I was born and raised in Calgary. So left most of my life there and then moved out to Cochrane in 2012. So most of my time is all around the same area. So I haven't moved far and wide. In fact, I grew up in the same house until I finally moved out when I was 24. And so 24 years of my life were spent in the same house. My parents still lived there in Calgary. And then I moved to Northwest Calgary and had a place there on my own for a little bit with a few roommates until I met my wife, Jenna. We were married in 2011, and we were in Calgary for a little bit before, we moved out to Cochrane. And so again, growing up in Calgary, graduated from Diefenbaker High School and enjoyed my time there. I have two sisters, one who also lives in Calgary or in Cochrane, and then my other sister lives in Ontario. Both are married and have two kids. I said my parents still live in Calgary, so most of our family is close. Jenna's family lives very close around here too, so in the Calgary area, and so we're very thankful for that. My first job in Calgary was as a youth pastor there at Cochrane Alliance Church. And then it was my job at Cochrane Alliance, where I am currently, that brought us out here. And so I started here in 2012 and still going, doing youth ministry. I love obviously doing ministry. I love youth. And so kind of my enjoyments and passions would be my family, first and foremost. So spending time with Jenna and Kinsley. We love playing games together, watching Disney. Jenna and I love Disney, always have. Hope to get back down to Disneyland or Disney World sometime soon. Kinsley's already asking, she's 4, and she's like, when do I get to come? And so we're excited, and hopefully that we can do that. I love football. I've been a high school football coach. I love NFL. I'm often wearing something with the Philadelphia Eagles on it so that everyone knows. And I love food. And so whether it's eating food or cooking or baking, that is one of my passions. And so one of my enjoyments is that. And I love doing it with Kinsley now too, my daughter, and working with her in the kitchen, teaching her, and then also going out. So she's my little foodie partner. And so we love going out right now. All of us, my wife, Jenna, Kinsley, and I, we love sushi. And so sushi is one of our enjoyments, going out, whether it's to have together or making at home. So there's a few things about me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love your hobbies. Your cooking is really good. I actually didn't know that that was one of your passions. I had no idea. And then I was like, oh, dang, you're really good. So I definitely love to see that side of you as well. So let's dive in a little bit to your childhood. What was your childhood like? And it seems like religion played a big role in your life throughout your life. So maybe you can also touch a little bit about what role religion played in your life as well.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, childhood for me was very positive. So again, growing up in Calgary, and my parents have always been, I would say, my greatest supporters. And so for myself and my two sisters, I'm the middle child. So I have an older sister, obviously, and a younger sister. And family was always really important to us. And I would say my parents really sought to help me succeed in whatever I did, and were just very encouraging in the path that we would take. And really, yeah, we just, as kids, for myself and my sisters, I think we would all say that we knew that our parents were there for us in all that we did. And so they supported our choices and the dreams that we would have. I really believe that they worked hard to make those realities. So whether it meant, I would say, for my parents, like sacrificing financially, early mornings of getting us to like band practice or sports practices. They're always at every game that I had, getting us to youth at the church. My parents could always be counted on, and they were present when we were kids. They loved us, they valued us, they prayed for us. And to this day, I know those things to be true of my parents as well. So I'm constantly reminded by my mom, she's praying for me. My dad's always ready to help and guide us through a home project or whatever we need, getting taxes done. And I know if I'm ever preaching in main service here, I know I at least have two people who will always be there to watch me. So, and then on the faith aspect of things, yeah, faith really was always part of our family. And so, even when I've shared my story previously, I often reflect on it in the sense of the Dimniks. So our family were known as a faith family. And I think that was just a defining thing. So whether it was family or church, we were probably doing one of those two things. And so I grew up going to a church in Northwest Calgary, Foothills Alliance Church, which wasn't the place that I actually started serving first as a youth pastor myself. So I grew up in that church as a kid. I volunteered serving in things like children's ministry, day camps, doing youth ministry as a volunteer there, all the way through to having gone through my university education and then becoming a pastor and being hired for my first job there in 2007. And so the church for me really was a second home in a lot of ways, and really was family. So whether we were at home, if we weren't there, we were probably at the church, and it was probably for things like being in the kids choir or like a Sunday service or youth group. What fill in the blank, there was probably something happening in that church that we were involved in. So from a young age, my parents always modeled a personal faith themselves, their belief in God, what it meant for us to have a relationship with God. And then as well, just the importance of the church being involved and that family there. And so it really was, I look at my story and I look back over the years, there's always been key people at the church who have spoken into my life and built into my life and really acted as mentors for me. And sometimes I often wonder why that was, that I just kind of connected there or always found those people or how they found me. And I feel in a lot of ways it contributed to where I am now today and built into my story of now being a leader within the church and having those strong relationships, knowing, seeing the way that they lived, their integrity and their leadership, influencing the leader that I want to be and seek to be now today. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like you have an amazing support, which is always good to hear, because a lot of people, they're not fortunate enough to have that around them. But it sounds like your family was very much so like ready to just support you in anything that you wanted to do, which is so amazing. And throughout what you've said so far, it sounds like you have always kind of been this natural leader. At least this is what it sounds like. You said you like coached people in football, and then you've also been a leader in your church. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think I'm drawn to leadership. I like to have that opportunity, and there's probably good sides and bad sides of that. Probably the dark side possibly being that people pleasing side that would be within me. And so I love the approval of other people. I mean, who doesn't? But that is really something that I've needed to work through in my own life and continue to this day, is the reasons for why I do things. And often it can be motivated because of a desire to please. And so even church, religion, some of those leadership opportunities were often things that I stepped into because I knew it would earn me approval. And so maybe stepping into it for the wrong reasons in some ways, and obviously seeing the good that came out of it still, but at the same time, stepping into them because I really do also the good side of it, have a passion for building into other people. And so to this day, one of my greatest joys is building into other leaders. So as I serve as a youth pastor here, I love working with youth and I'm passionate about youth. But one of my greatest joys is working with my leadership team and developing them. And so, yeah, it goes back to, I mean, growing up in, again, the church, there was always encouragement to be involved. And so leading in things when I was younger, obviously with younger kids, when I left high school, the current youth pastor there, who continues to be a mentor in my life, pulled me into leadership with him and continued to lead in youth ministry. I led in environments in summer camps. I've been a director at a summer camp for many years. And I find a lot of joy in helping people discover who they are and their gifting, and really managing and working with a team. And so whether that's through coaching as well, in all of those environments, just that enjoyment and finding that success together. I am, as a person, very extroverted, and I love being with people, and that really builds into, that gives me life when I'm around other people. So the whole isolation pandemic is difficult. Alone time is not where I thrive. And so the idea of leading and being with other people is really, I feel, how I am wired. And that's why I believe I'm drawn to those areas, just for the purpose, again, of being with people and working with them to say, yeah, who are you? What do you bring to this team? And how do we succeed together?
Right. Yeah, that's so awesome. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about the role people pleasing has played in your whole life. Because for me, I have always been that way as well. And it kind of like, for me, I experienced a breaking point at a young age where I was like, I can't do it anymore. Like I felt like I was doing way too much for everyone else and not enough for myself. And so I'd love to hear how that really played a role in your life. And then maybe when things started to shift, when you started to make a change. And yeah, so would you like to share about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of when it started to change, I think it's something, it's ongoing. And so I don't know if there's necessarily one particular moment, but it's one that I continue to learn throughout my life, and even to this day. And so I'll share a recent example that took place in my own life. The last April, May, and June here of 2021, I was given the gift from our church of having a sabbatical, which essentially allowed me to step away from ministry for 3 months and just focus on myself and continuing to grow as a leader, to be refreshed and to be renewed. And in that, I'll share a quote with you that really spoke to me, and it comes from someone by the name of Parker J. Palmer. And the quote was this, that I came across. It says, "Self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on earth to offer others." And that really spoke to me because, again, my default often in life has always been to do more. And often when I think of replenishing my own soul, when I think of replenishing my own levels of where I need to be, my default is to do more. And people pleasing is, I think, a function of that, in the sense of it would often be more time serving others, more time doing things for others, more time, again, doing something that would garner that attention or that praise. Mm-hmm. And it would often leave me depleted. And so this quote really spoke to me in the sense of, again, I think it would be something I would say I was aware of and I knew, but something that it's one of those moments in your life where, like, yeah, I know that, but maybe it hits you in a new way, in a way that's like, okay, yeah, I knew that, but wow, I really need this, and something really needs to change. Yeah. And so the sense of, yeah, caring for my own needs and my own self-care, my own soul care is not selfish. It's actually good stewardship so that I can serve others better. And again, for me, and it ties back to my faith, there's this realization that I've really had to wrestle with and always constantly need to remind myself of. I don't think it's just a one-time thing, but just, again, this concept that I need to stop trying to be good enough. And I think a lot of us in a faith community often find ourselves there, but it's not limited to people in faith communities, where we try to be good enough. And we feel if we're not performing, if we're not getting that approval from others, if we're not doing something, that we aren't good enough. Yeah. And there's been this realization throughout my life, and again, really kind of hit a roadblock, I guess, or really, just became apparent again, was trying to be good enough is a real unbearable burden. Yeah. I spent a lot of my life trying to do that in religious settings, outside of that, like within school, trying to find approval from, being involved in sports or being involved in music, in the church, just giving as much as I could. And for me, the switch that needed to flip, and I still need to, again, constantly remind myself of that, is my identity actually has very little to do with me, has everything to do with who God is and who He's created me to be. So again, that's a faith understanding, but one that's very important in my life and very important in this need to stop striving, is really just understanding who God is and that He has created me good enough already, that I don't need to earn that approval, but I have value and my identity is rooted in the one who created me, not what I can create on my own. And so that was really important and valuable for me, just to learn those things. And again, to rest in those truths. And yeah, just to think about that opposed to doing things for the approval of others.
Mhm. Yeah, I can relate with a lot of things you said there. I feel like I'm very similar, where I was like, I tried to do so much and everything. And if I was like, I had like downtime, I would try to do more just to
Yeah.
just to get more approval to be doing something.
Yeah.
Because if I was doing nothing, I felt like I was not good enough, like you were saying there. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, about how similar we all really are. And we're all beautifully different and unique, which I
Sure.
love. But when it comes down to some of those like really hard feelings about ourselves and what we think about ourselves, like we're not good enough, we're not doing good enough, we don't know what to do next, kind of thing. I feel like a lot of us are similar in that way. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to come together and grow together as well, because we have this opportunity to identify what it is. You said that you started searching and looked inside yourself, and then, it's a constant working progress. Like for me, I still suffer with pleasing others. Like it doesn't just go away. You have to continuously work on it. It's like everything, right? But I think that, just realizing and maybe having a support group or your faith in your situation to be like, you know what, I am good enough. I'm doing enough, and I need to take a break sometimes. And I think that is starting to come more into play with the pandemic. I think that could be one of the good things that may have come out of this, is that people are really like, whoa, I need to take care of me. I was given a beautiful break, and I was like working so hard. And I kept asking, I was like, I just need a break. I just need a break. And then the pandemic came, and it was my break for a little bit. But then I started struggling with these feelings of like lack of purpose. I wasn't doing anything. I thought I was lazy, like all these things. Right. And I think that quote that you shared with everyone is just so inspiring, because it's a great reminder to say we need to take care of ourselves so we can serve others better, which I just absolutely love. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we have nothing to show for, right?
Totally. Yeah. That's nothing to give, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I really loved what you touched on there. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
My next kind of question for you, did you have anything else you want to say off of that?
No, that's great. Yeah. Continue on. Yeah.
So my next kind of question for you is about, some of the challenges you may have faced in your life. Would you be willing to share like one of the major challenges in your life that you faced, and maybe how you overcame it, or if you're still working on it, you can share that as well.
Yeah, for sure. When I kind of reflected on challenges, just thinking through my time in ministry so far. I began full-time ministry in 2007. So I'm starting 14 years here. I think some of the most difficult times have been in funerals that I've had to do. And so obviously that's pretty specific to who I am and where to what I do. But some of those major challenges were specifically for, I haven't done a lot of funerals in my 14 years, but a few that I have done have been for youth whose obviously lives were ended much quicker than many of us would say that they should have. And those were, in those moments, incredibly overwhelming to step into caring for those families during those times. And just really, again, to process some of those questions we've talked a little bit about already in terms of purpose and just meaning within life. I think when we're faced with death, and especially very unexpected death, grief causes us to ask a lot of those questions. And so there was a lot of grief. The first one that I did was, I was very new in ministry. And I remember just sense of man, how am I going to step into this? And how am I going to, again, carry this load and care for a family who is grieving very much? And I thought back to a moment that I had with one of my mentors who I first served in ministry with. And it's when I was just a youth leader. So I had just started university. And that particular youth was walking through some pretty tough waters. And I remember sitting in the car with my mentor and talking with him about it. And actually just crying about what this youth was going through. And I remember the advice from my mentor just being, you know what, we can't change anything that they are walking through, but our role and what we can do is just to walk with them and to be with them and to offer hope and to, again, be there with them throughout. And so even within those times of walking through with those families, then knowing that there are often times within our lives that are beyond us. And again, my faith would be then the rock and the foundation that I would stand upon, knowing that there was someone greater than me, that being God, who would work in and through that. My role and my calling, I believe, just to simply be with those people, to offer hope, to point them towards something greater again than themselves. And so there's been many times in ministry, I'm reminded that, again, this sometimes kind of connects back to the people pleasing thing. As good as I think I am, I'm really not. And yes, there are talents and gifts and abilities that I bring and that I can offer. But at the end of the day, it's God who's working through me to bring that change. And so I really need to lean into that and rely on that. And so, those were really meaningful times. And again, I just talking about that, I just want to really encourage and remind people again to just, if they are struggling, and especially for youth, if they were listening and hearing some of those things, I know that a lot of them find themselves in dark places. And if you're in one of those places, just to know that there are people that care for you. There's people that want to walk with you, and to not go it alone, but to really not to be afraid to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And that's been one of my challenges in life too, being willing to ask for help. It's okay. It's not a sign of weakness. We all need people to walk with us. And so if you're there, if you're in a really low point, or just really find yourself struggling right now and just wondering who you are and wondering about the value of life, please just reach out to someone and know that there are people that want to walk with you.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. Thank you for saying that. I think a lot of people need to hear that right now, because things can get so hard, but I think it's so important to remember that there is someone who wants to help you. You just have to ask for help sometimes. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I was just wondering, when you were talking, you said that you went to school. So what did you go to school for?
So there is schooling for ministry, and there's schools all over, and there are different areas of degree. There are different degrees for different areas of ministry as well. So there's some that are very general, and others that just like any field would help you to, in a way, major or really be more specific in the training that you receive. And so my schooling was completed at university known as Ambrose, which is actually here in Calgary. Yeah. And so they do ministry training, but there's also a university that has programs in education, in biology, in psychology, sociology, and beyond. And so it's not just limited to ministry. But my degree specifically was a 4-year degree that I did, and it's just a Bachelor of Ministry. with a concentration in youth. And so again, I believe, and I still feel that my place is to be serving in a youth ministry capacity. That's why I started there, and I actually feel that I still want to be there. And so that's what I did for school.
That's awesome. And so you came out of school, and then you said you worked at the Foothills Church in Calgary. Yeah. And then you met your wife and you moved to Calgary or Cochrane. You moved to Cochrane, sorry. So can you tell me maybe a little bit about your personal family life and how, you have a daughter now and the big moves and changes and all that? Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I graduated from university in 2007. And right after I graduated from Ambrose, I first spent 3 months in South America, where I did an internship program, ministry related, but serving in Venezuela and in Peru with a ministry called Inca Link. And they host short-term missions teams down there doing work in that country or in those countries. And so while I was down there, I was one of the interns that oversaw short-term teams that would come and serve in the different ministries that they had there. So at that time, they were working in orphanages. They were working, a lot of people that are poor down there look for income by just finding recycling right in the garbage dump. So they pick through the garbage in the dumps. And so they had a ministry there to support those people, to give them a better way of life. We served in the women's prison down there. And so this was a new experience for me and something that branched me out from my typical ministry experience, and an opportunity to really see again where I was gifted and where I really felt called. And so after being down there 3 months, it was a good and forming experience. In that time, though, really kind of discerned a sense that my place was full-time ministry in a local church. And at the end of that, Foothills Alliance Church, where I grew up in Northwest Calgary there, had actually let me know they were going to be hiring a junior high youth pastor for September, and that I should apply, which I did. And obviously, went through that process and was hired. And so I started my ministry there in September 2007 and served there until the summer of 2012. And during that time, I met my wife, Jenna. And so she was actually serving in our children's ministry. She was serving in the capacity, there was someone who had stepped out for a mat leave. And so she was serving there short term. We connected during that time and started dating. And then in 2011, we got married. And we're there in Calgary for a year still before I ended up taking a position in Cochrane at Cochrane Alliance Church as their youth pastor. And so we moved out here. Jenna is a teacher. And so at that time, she was teaching grade 1 at Master's Academy. She currently teaches now here in Cochrane at Cochrane Christian Academy. And so she's starting her second year there. We have our daughter, Kinsley, who is 4 years old. And so she was born in June of 2017. And just full of life and energy. She brings a lot of joy to us. She started preschool this year and is absolutely loving it. And just being with other kids and learning and growing. She loves to dance. And so she's in dance class. And so me and her, we enjoy dancing and singing as well together. And we have our dog Pixar at home, Portuguese water dog, and who is Kinsley's best friend. And the two of them are, the best of friends. And so that is my family.
That's so awesome. And was there any challenges from moving from the city to Cochrane, smaller town? Did you find it was welcoming, or what was your experience with moving?
Yeah, again, it wasn't a big across the country move like some people have gone through, or even to a new province. We moved 20 minutes away from where we currently lived. And so it was a change. And yet at the same time, there was a lot of things that could still remain consistent. So it's nice that, again, we're still very close to much of our family who live in the Calgary area. And so didn't really remove ourselves from that network, even from some friendships and connections within Calgary. We still have a lot of those. And then, but there's still the change to a new community as well. And so for sure, when we first got here, for me, this was the first new church that I had stepped into in my entire life. And so again, it's reconnecting, it's getting to know people, as being the new person on staff for the first time. I had never gone through that before. For Jenna too, she continued to teach in Calgary for a bit until Kinsley was born. And then she took mat leave and then started here. So now she's kind of adjusting to a new job and a new role and a new environment as well. And so there definitely are those things of still, making new friends again and building new community and getting settled into new jobs. I've been doing this for a while now. And so I feel very settled, but we're thankful for connections we've made here. We felt very welcomed when we did arrive, and we'll just, I think, continue just as you need to in all areas. You always got to continue to work to maintain that as well. So
That's so awesome. And it sounds like you and your little girl have a lot in common, and you to pieces. You feel like you kind of live through her a little bit. Like this, it sounds like when you talk about her, you just light up. I feel like she has to do with a lot of maybe your motivation. Do you want to touch on that a little bit? What does your daughter mean to you?
Oh yeah. She is go. And so the area we differ is maybe I would like a little bit more sleep than she would. Like as soon as she goes all day. It's hard to switch off, and then it's like 6 a.m. in the morning, the switch is on and just ready to go again. But to me and to Jenna, she really does. She brings us a lot of joy, and we really enjoy the moments and the memories that we have with her, that we are making with her. And just thankful for who she is and for her love in life. Again, over kind of the last few years, I know it's been challenging for many people, and just helping a 4-year-old trying to understand what's going on in the world. And yet at the same time, even seeing how much has changed or things that were taken away or missed out on, how there's still just that childlike joy. And that meant a lot to us throughout. And so I think she was, she encouraged us a lot throughout the last little while. She is a very determined little girl. She has she is a high achiever. But I love sharing just moments and passions with her. So I'm glad she enjoys cooking with me. She wants to be in the kitchen. Her favorite thing in the basement is her toy kitchen. Things like that. She loves music. She loves dancing, and I love to join in those things with her. Fridays, my day off through the week, and she's off that day. So after preschool she goes now, and so we get that time together, which I cherish. And just very thankful for the gift of her.
Yeah, that's amazing. It kind of leads really nice into my next question. So you had mentioned that this pandemic has been pretty difficult for you, as you are an extrovert. So my first question is, have you always been an extrovert, or has it like developed over the years kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's always been there, just who I am. I want to be with people, and I love connecting with people. If I have time, I'm not like, yeah, I'm gonna find a good book and just go curl up on my chair and read by myself. I was like, no, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna be with people. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's always been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I can relate to that. I love people so much. And I'd love to hear how the pandemic affected you as being that type of person. As for me, I love people so much, and being with people was so like, that was my thing. That just like lifted me up. And I loved to just connect with people as well. So it was a very hard thing for me as well. But I'd love to hear your experience on what this pandemic has what your challenges were, and maybe stuff that you learned from it as well.
Sure. Yeah, at times, again, yeah, it's hard with just restriction wise. Again, having family that's close, but being told that we can't connect or can't be together. So, so that's difficult. Trying to run a youth ministry, and my philosophy and understanding of ministry is that relationship thrives on relationship, and that's the basis for it. So how do you build effective relationships when you can't physically be with people? And then as well, just for myself, of like going out and being with my friends, with my people, and not having that to again, that's something that I think we all have to know what breathes life into us. And that's what breathes life into me, is being with other people. And so having those things restricted or limited was difficult. And it really did say then, okay, well, it's the challenge, but how do we navigate that? And how do we rethink what that can be? And so it was rethinking, how do we do that as a family? How do we do that with our friends? How do we do that with the youth that we serve and the people that we serve here in the church? And I think in some ways we were successful in what we thought and what we tried to reimagine or what we tried to do. And other times I think it probably lacked a little bit too. And just through, it's easy to be kind of defeated in some ways, right? And just be like, just forget it then, right? And just kind of like, I don't want to do this, right? And kind of curl up and be like, And so it was good to have other people around too, to like, okay, like keep going, right? Like the encouragement again. And in some ways, it also, it helps to fight against that people pleasing thing again, because there's no one around, right? So again, in my reading too, there was something that came across where it's like, yeah, if you struggle with like people pleasing, engage in solitude and find the joy and the good in that. And again, just like resting in who God is. And so that took a long time and a lot of work, but it was good for me to, again, be reminded that that's not where my value comes from. Right. And so I think the positives are, it led us to rethink how we do things. And I think the danger, especially within our own lives, even within family life, within relationships, and for me within ministry, is that we settle into routine and we just do the same thing we've always done because that's how we've done it. And it always leads to the same results then, because we just keep doing things the same way. And we hope for more. And sometimes then we're asking, well, why aren't things different, or why aren't things changing or better or growing or whatever? Well, because we just continue to do it how we've always done it.
Right.
Well, on the flip side here, because of this pandemic, we've had to say, okay, well, we can't do it how we've always done it. Yeah. So what changes? And now we are able to see some new things and some different things. And the challenge will be to continue to seek that and to not just settle into, again, now new rhythms, but to constantly evaluate and just say, yeah, how do we continue to grow? And again, within family, within extended relationships, and for me, within my job and within ministry.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear, the impact it had on you personally. But I would also like to hear how it impacted the youth in your opinion, as you work closely with a lot of youth. Obviously, you can't speak on everyone's behalf, but you were definitely witnessing something. So would you touch on that as well a little bit?
Just in terms of like what we did, or
just like maybe if you saw something different in youth, better or like bad or good, different things like that, because you do work so closely with a lot of youth.
Sure. Well, I think some of the things, probably one of the biggest that we noticed, and again, we've always known, but a pandemic just highlighted it even more, is whether we're introverted or we're extroverted, we still are all created for relationship, and we all desire relationship. And we saw the toll that had on our youth when that was limited, in the sense of when relationship was hard to engage in, when restrictions were as such where it really was a lot of time of being isolated or being on their own. That really was difficult. And because I think it goes against what is within each of us, and which is an innate thing. And what is really within us, created within us, is desire to be in relationship with other people. And so we really sought to try to find ways to still have opportunities and to create on-ramps for youth to still connect physically with people, not just virtually, as much as we could within operating within the restrictions. We saw definitely a lot of mental health issues increase. And so a lot of heightened anxiety, a lot of heightened stress, and out of that stems a lot of other behavior, and a lot of other challenges for them specifically. But I think that was one of the biggest things that we tried to navigate or speak into the lives of our youth, is just walking with them in the sense of, it is in a lot of ways that self-care and that soul care of like, how are you really doing? And whether, again, just anxiety, stress, depression, these things just were big time on the upswing. And so as much as we could, just having personal connections with those youth, we had a team of 21 leaders that worked with us last year, that volunteer their time, who I'm incredibly thankful for. And really each of those leaders had about 4 or 5 youth that they worked with throughout the year. And we just really pressed upon them the importance of, personal connection and regular check-ins. And again, being a presence for them, because just as much as everyone, their world really was turned upside down, and there was a lot that wasn't able to take place or happen. And families were navigating their own stresses, their own anxieties. And so really we were just seeking to say, we want to care for who they are, for their health, and just for their safety, and creating a safe place for them to connect when really most places were closed. And not able to do that.
Yeah, I think that was something that was really cool as well, is that Unfortunately, a lot of other places couldn't open, but I think having the church open, whether you believed or didn't believe, everyone was welcome at the youth group, which was so amazing because I know for me, as a leader, it was huge for me coming back into like being a youth student and then having nothing and then coming in as a leader was still huge because it's that human connection that I feel like a lot of people were really missing. And you don't realize how important it is until it's taken away. And I think that's another big thing we've learned through this whole thing about when things are taken away, how important like your family really is and all those different things. And so I think that like it was also a great opportunity for people to come together in a sense too, as a lot of people were feeling the same way. So yeah, thank you for sharing about that. And I always find it interesting to hear, your opinion on, some of the youth in the community and how they reacted and responded. Because you're right, a lot of stuff sucked for everyone, but certain big milestones like graduations were taken away, and certain grads and like not partying, but like bigger celebrations were taken away. And it is really difficult because like for me, not getting to graduate, that was a big obstacle I had to overcome because I was so excited to celebrate all of my hard work. And so I just remember having the church for me was so big because, we did like you set up a drive-by, which was like, just like so amazing. So I think a lot of the efforts that or the opportunities maybe that the church was able to play in this was really, really impactful and amazing to still have a place to connect. And, sometimes for a long time it was virtual, which was difficult, but at least we still had an opportunity to see each other over the screen. But it's still an opportunity to connect. So I think that the work that you do is so amazing. So I just want to share that because it does, sometimes we do all this work and it doesn't feel like it makes a difference, but it really does. The super small things that we do that we're like, mean the world to other people. So I thank you for all the work you do and for sharing everything that you have, because I feel like a lot of things that you have shared today are going to help so many people in different ways. And, if you're not religious, these things still apply, right? People still have these feelings of not being good enough and still have a feeling of self-care as selfish, and I think that, we all just have this opportunity to come together and learn and grow and just inspire each other, which you are doing such a good job at. So thank you for that. And yeah, I just think it's such a great opportunity after all of the hard times that we have to really, reflect on, but try to focus on the good as well. Right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a couple more questions for you. So what is your like future? What do you want for your future? What are some of the things that you are thinking about that just maybe make you excited?
Yeah. Looking forward. I think a question I often get asked is, so are you going to like be a lead pastor and lead a church someday? And you know what, to be honest right now, that isn't on my radar or my horizon. And because I really do still sense and believe that God's place for me is still within youth ministry. And I love what I do. I love the people that I get to connect with. I love that I can be immature with the people that I serve and just have fun. And I really believe these years I work with grade 6 through grade 12 are just so incredibly formative. As long as I have this sense and other people affirm that I'm still being effective in leading this in this area, I believe that's where I'll be. And so whether that's here in Cochrane or whether that's somewhere else, I don't know. And I'm glad to be here, and I love the team that I serve with. And so that could be for a long time still. And maybe there's a change. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I want to continue to serve youth and just, again, give them a place where they belong and really help them wrestle with those questions that I think we all do of who am I and what's my purpose, and where do I belong? And so, that's to keep, growing my family and enjoying life with family, continuing to be the best dad and husband that I can to serve them well. And we would love to, hopefully things will open up some more and we'll see our world return to places where we can get around and where we can travel. Jenna and I really enjoy doing that. We want to have Kinsley experience it with us. And so, again, we love Disney. And so we'd love to be back down there at some point, or Hawaii or something. Like we love new experiences like that. And so some of those things. Yeah.
That's awesome. The one thing that you just touched on that I actually wanted to ask you about before, but I'll ask you now. So
Sure.
You had said that you help a lot of people step into their purpose and, find their identity. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about that, if you'd like to, on, how does one maybe start to find what they like to do and what lights them up?
Yeah. So I really do love doing that. And again, I think that's just part of, again, figuring out who we are. And from that faith perspective, and like who God has created us to be, I think is the biggest question. And so finding our identity in Him, I think is where it begins. And so an understanding of who God is. And I think out there's so much a variance in opinion of who God is. And so I think it's really important to have a firm understanding of who He is and what He has promised to do. And so helping people understand that. And in light of that, then, who has God created you to be and what is He calling you to? And through that, I think ways in which we come to that are just by, again, discovering God. And part of that is, again, studying that, but stepping into new experiences, trying new things, living life. And so even with my leaders or youth that I work with, I want them to find things that say, like, what gives me joy? And a question that helped me early on when it came to calling was connecting my passion with a great need within the world, or where is there brokenness, and how can who I am or what I'm passionate about help to see that differently. And so helping people ask that question, because I don't think we often do. And then making use of things too that are available to us in terms of like personality things, or like Myers-Briggs, or like all those, like those gifting types of things. I think they do speak well, and they're not the end all be all, but they do give us understanding. And self-awareness is so important to who we are. And I think I've learned a lot about that, again, over kind of this last little bit, but I really want to seek to do that in the lives of other people. And one of the books that I worked through over my sabbatical is called Soul Care. It's by Dr. Rob Reimer. And he says, you'll never rise above your level of self-awareness. It's the ultimate lid on your life, your intimacy with God, your growth, your leadership, and your relational maturity. Self-awareness is the gateway to transformation. It doesn't guarantee it, but you won't get there without it. And to me, that's so, it speaks a lot of truth. And I think it's an important role that we can do in the lives of others, but it begins with doing it in our own life, and something, again, that I needed to do and need to continue to do, but just helping people be self-aware of who they are and being confident in that. Because as we are really honest with who we are as a person, then we can actually experience transformation. If I'm not honest about the gifts I have or the personality I have or the person that I am, I can't step into what that will unlock or what that will bring if I don't actually embrace those things. And so some of the youth that I love the most over my time have been the ones who are just confident in who they are. They're not trying to be someone else. They're not trying to put on a mask. And again, that's part of my own story in this, like, people pleasing is trying to fit different molds. Yeah. But as we are actually self-aware no, you know what, this is who I am. And I'm going to put it out there. That actually leads to the transformation. And so just help coach and bring people along in that journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. And those are awesome questions to ask yourself as well. Like after this, I'm going to ask myself and like write some jot notes on some of those questions, because I think it's so true that we really need to be aware of ourselves as well, like you had said in there. So that's awesome. Do you have anything else you'd like to share before I ask my 4 final questions?
No, go for it.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
So these are my favorite questions ever. I ask everyone these questions. So the first one is, what is the best advice you've received and from whom?
Oh, wow.
You can think about it. You can think about it for a second.
I don't know, again, if it's like just one specific person or that, but again, I think, and maybe it does come back to that one conversation I shared. It just pops into my mind, and maybe because I've shared it already. So my mentor, his name's Sam Seifert, and he serves at Southfield Alliance Church. And he was the first person that I worked with in ministry and youth. Great friend, great mentor. And I look to him a lot. He's given me a lot of wisdom over life. But again, just in the sense of ministry, was like what we do, what I do, I can never change what's happening in someone's life. Like sometimes we hear these things that are going on, or have a youth come to me and there's really difficult things happening in their life. My impulse, my desire right away is just like to pull them out of that, or to change that, to see differently for them. And I can't do that. Only God can. God is the one who can work in and through that. My role is to walk with them, again, to speak truth and to speak hope, to point them towards who God is, and allow God to be the one who actually brings that change within their life. So I can be a part of that. And it's an exciting thing to think about, like, wow, I get to partner with God and what he's doing within this world. But at the end of the day, it's up to him. And so I need to remind myself of that often in ministry. And so maybe that's where I am.
I really do think that's great advice, because I relate to that. I was very similar with some of my friends. In the past, I've always been like, how can I help you? How can I get you out of this? Because I want you to be okay, and I want you to be good and healthy and loving life. I want to help you get out of that place. And then talking with counselors and different things, I had gotten this similar piece of advice where it's like, you can't change them, but you know what, you can stand with them and be there for them when they need you. And that was like some really big life altering advice, because I was like, I'm trying to help them and change them and get to where I think they should be, which is better, right? Sometimes they really do need to go through that hard time. So my approach really shifted and was more like, I'm here for you. If you need to talk to me, like, I'm not going to judge you. I don't think you need to change. I'm just going to be here and walk with you through it, so you don't have to do it alone, versus what can I do to fix it? Right.
Totally.
So I think that is really great advice. And I think it's something that a lot of us can apply and start to think about, and really just examine our relationships and be like, what role do I play? Am I trying to fix, or am I trying to be there and just walk with them, kind of thing? So I thank you for sharing that, because I really do love it. So this one might be a little bit difficult too, but we'll see. So, what is the worst advice you've received?
Oh man. You know what? It might seem silly, but the thing that popped into my head is just trust your heart. I think we often think that that's good advice, but I actually don't think it is. Okay. I don't think it is because our heart is so deceptive often. It's very selfish in our desires most often. And I think it can often actually lead us down a wrong path. And so I'm not saying that that will always be the case, but I think as we have those feelings, maybe we talk about it within our heart, like the things that I have in my heart. I think you still really need to use wisdom and discernment of, okay, is this really the right or the wrong thing? Is this really the direction I should be going? To just blindly say, oh, but my heart feels this way. Just listen to your heart. I think is foolish. And I think we really need to engage well again with kind of some of that self-awareness and just knowing that, yeah, our heart can be deceptive and it can be selfish. And that's not actually always the best advice. So that's what came to my mind.
Yeah, that's a very interesting twist on that one. I've actually never heard that as an answer before.
I bet a lot of people are like, yeah, no, totally disagree.
Well, that's fine. That's your opinion, cool. Right? My third question to you is, what advice would you give your younger self or someone in the younger generation?
Yeah, I think connecting it back to that self-awareness piece is just like, yeah, be aware of who you are and love that too. Don't feel you need to change for other people, but God has made you and that is a good thing. And you are a beautiful creation and a valued person. And so just being again aware of who you are and knowing that transformation will come through that, and actually greater enjoyment and fulfillment will come through life as you embrace that. Don't try to be someone else.
Yeah, I think that's great advice as well. All right, last question. One of my favorite questions. All right, okay. Are you ready?
All right.
This is an easy one.
Is it?
Yeah, I think. Okay, ready? What are you most grateful for in life?
I really am grateful for my family, for the upbringing that I had, for the ways that they just showed me love and helped me to grow and become who I am today. So I'm really thankful for my parents and to my parents for that, to my sisters, and just for the family that we do have. I know that that's not the experience of everyone, and so I am very grateful for that. And I think it speaks and influences who I am as a pastor, and just the love that I want to show to other people. And so I think, I'm like, God, thanks for that, for that family, and for a good, solid demonstration of what love is, so that I can do that well for others. And so that gratefulness continues to today, and it just continues to now grow into, I'm so grateful for my wife and for my daughter, for that family, and just for who they are, for the ways that they support me, for the ways they encourage me, call me to be the best that I can be. And I'm very grateful for them and for the life that we share together.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Yeah.
coming and speaking and just really showing up and speaking and really giving like really great takeaways. Like I hope everyone had like a pen and paper. I always forget to say that at the beginning, but like seriously, like this was like action filled with not only advice, but steps you can actually take to, finding your identity and things like that. So I thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it was just amazing.
Yeah.
So, wow, thank you so much, Jason. This has been an amazing experience and interview. I have loved speaking to you and talking to you, and really, I'm really honored that you opened up and shared so much about what you are going through or what you had gone through and how you overcame it as well, and how you're continuously working on yourself. I think it's so amazing that we have these opportunities and leaders in our community. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Feel free to leave a comment if you connected with this, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast or the YouTube channel. You can actually watch all of the interviews that I've done so far on YouTube, so you do not want to miss that. All right, everyone, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and we will chat soon. Bye.